Guys, very excited to have you on this show and this very special guest today on as well. Today we have Abel Pacheco, who is also known as a president, as you mentioned. Yeah, we had this conversation before. It's the surname thing, but it's very awesome.
Yeah,
So,
the former president of Costa Rica, Mr. Abel Pacheco. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm grateful. You know, he's a real estate investor since 2008. So again, as we spoke, tough time to get into real estate. Passively invested into 465 doors. GP active in another 402 doors. Currently developing 156 doors from the ground up. So basically, I'm just looking at the bio. It took you 10 years to acquire 8 single family properties. Took 2 years to get 2 multifamilies going. And he attributes his success to education, coaching, mentors, taking massive action, which is you didn't miss that part. You didn't miss that part. Most of the people do. He raised $2 million this year on 3 capital raisers. So he just left his full-time job. He W2, and he has more time to do the podcast, just like this one. So again, super grateful to have you on, Abel, and I'm just very happy to have you and just talk some real estate, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Martinez, for having me on. You know, it's a pleasure. I know it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to run the podcast, and
no, man, it's
provide the platform. I think education for everyone, man, to do it with the way on your level, that's awesome. You're giving back and improving.
It's fun, man. I love it. I love meeting, people just like yourself. Cause again, I love the stories. And at the same time, I just want to see people what it takes to build this type of business or just, invest like passively. Cause what I said, like from my perspective, I think it's nothing wrong with being passive investor in the deals. Cause yesterday we just had an interview with, you can guys go and check it out. The previous interview with Travis Watts. He's the in charge of investor relations guy, and he works with this huge company, $900 million currently under management. So they're looking to close 1 billion this year. So big company, and all he did investing passively. So and he's very happy. He lives a good life. He doesn't have to care about So what I'm saying, passive investing is good. Yeah. So maybe we can come back to your topic, and maybe you can give people a little bit of your background, how you were able to leave the W2 job, and how did you get involved in the real estate in the first place?
Yeah, I can start there. Abel Pacheco, again, thanks for having me on the show. I'm the president of Five Talents Wealth investment firm, small, local firm here. And I started investing in real estate, like you said, 2008. And really the way I did it, my intent was always to be a passive investor. I wanted to have a cash flow stream, something where if I stopped working, that I was going to have some passive cash flow coming in. So the original goal was, let's just get some rental properties. And the easiest way in my head was to do that was to, purchase a $100,000, $125,000, $150,000 single family property, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, try to make them the same as much as possible. And then squirrel away, 25 grand, 20K, 20% or 20K down, 5K in closing. And then, the mortgage is $800, $900, $700, whatever it was. And then you're trying to cash flow a few $100. So I said, well, if I do that enough times, every deal is going to bring me an extra $3 grand, $4 grand a year. So if I can get enough of those rolling, that's at least going to supplement my retirement, at that time when it came. And then I go, well, shoot, I'm going to leverage time, other people's money, my renters. We're going to pay this off. And 30 years from now, I'll have 8 or 10 or 15 paid off houses. That was the original goal, right? So I realized, so it took me from 2008 to 2018, was able to acquire 8 doors. So that was my portfolio. And I go, man, it's not passive. There's a lot of work that needed to be done at 8, and I was managing the properties myself. It wasn't too hard, like at
full-time job,
1 deal, 2 deals, 3 deals, not a big deal. 4, 5, 6 became a little bit of work, and I've been full-time all the way through. I've had a successful career in professional IT sales. So I can talk about that in a little bit, but really that was the original goal, and it wasn't working. It wasn't fast enough. It was more active than I thought. It was getting harder for me to buy deals. The way I was doing it, I was using my own money. I wasn't raising capital or doing anything like that. So I was like, well, every time I bought another one, I was getting closer to my 10 deals max. And then they wanted, 20% down and 6 months reserves on every single family property. So when you add all that stuff up, it was
Fannie Mae financing.
Yeah, like traditional, 30-year fixed rate loans, is what I did. And then, it's like, there's got to be a better way, right? And I knew a few people locally, buddies and mentors and, coaches, things like that. They're my mentors and coaches now, but at the time they're just, hey, I know what you're doing. How the hell are you buying 50 houses in a year? How are you doing 100-unit apartment complexes? What's going on? What am I missing, right? And, I signed up for some coaching, education. I don't know if, my sister drugged me to a real estate event, actually. And she was like, I paid for the money. I paid for the ticket. It's free. Just come with me for the weekend. And I go, okay, cool. I'm in. And at the end of the 3 days, I'm like writing a check for 20 grand. And so I'm signing up for education. But that entry point was like, man, it was mind blowing. I didn't know there was things like hard money loans. I didn't know there was raising capital. I didn't know you could do syndication.
Different world. Yeah.
Like everything opens up. And then, once you get the knowledge, the education, which is why I think things like your podcast are so valuable, is because you open up ideas for other people to take advantage of. And then if you're not in a scarcity mindset, everyone else can win. There's plenty of deals and opportunities for all of us. So it's like, okay, I got that knowledge. And then, I have a buddy of mine that, again, is my mentor and coach now. And then he, was already on deal 6 or 7, multifamily, 100-unit plus deals, very much rolling, raising capital. And I go, man, I'd love to, to get mentored by you, to get coached. How do I do what you're doing? And he goes, man, honestly, I don't have any time. I'm super busy. I'm not a mentor or coach. And I was like, I was deflated. And he goes, but if you invest in a deal passively, you're an owner. You can ask me any question you like because, dude, you're an owner. Yeah. And I go, well, okay, cool. What's the minimum? 50K. And I was like, oh no, here's another hurdle. 50K. I don't. And he goes, well, did you know you can invest with your IRA? Mm-hmm. And I had a 401k. I left the first corporate job that I left after 10 years at a company called Rackspace, pretty big IT hosting company, but moved my 401k, moved it to an IRA, did a self-directed, put 50K in his deal, which is now my deal, right? And I'm benefit of my resume experience getting up there. But I was like, man, that was easier than I thought. It didn't feel any different from my checkbook because it was my IRA money. My 401k, I never had access to it anyways. And then, I took the opportunity to ask questions, learn through the process. I signed up for this education course. I was taking my classes. And then, 2 years go by, 2 years of education, coursework, and knowledge. I signed up for like 2 or 3 other courses or packages. It's like $60,000 later and 200 plus hours of education and knowledge. You're like, oh, I think I know what's going on. I think I've heard this same story enough. Yeah. 100 plus units, syndication, passive deal, you raise capital, here's the tax benefit. Here's the difference of stock market versus that. And I see the tax return difference on my, avoiding my W-2 taxes. Mm-hmm. From being a passive investor. You get K1, paper losses, cost segregation study, and I can dig in all this stuff, if we want to dig deeper, but it's like, man, all of those things I didn't get in my 401k. I didn't get through my stock market investment. I didn't create passive cash flow through my W-2 job. When the moment I stopped working and stopped coming in, but as a passive investor, so many benefits. And that kind of was my entry point to my second passive deal, third passive deal, 400 doors. And, we can dig deeper on any of that stuff, but let me pause for a minute.
Yeah. That is awesome. That is a great story. Like, I came across countless, currently active syndicators that learn syndication exactly the way you did, by investing passively in some other people's deals. So again, that's the answer for you guys, for the ones who are watching and thinking like, oh, like I just want to jump in syndication, and you know, the
Yeah.
fees, man,
Yeah.
the fees, the 5%, 4% is like, I know, like it's money, like, but we just finished off the previous interview like a couple hours ago, and the guy said very simple. There's a specific way you should put, like, real estate is the last one. He said the people is the second one. So you know, so again, there's a, because people put like money first, is like it's the money, man, and then the last ones are investors. So there's, again, if you want to
Yeah.
learn the business, what I'm trying to say, like the best way is to get close to the deals, and that's by investing passively. So you did a great job by doing
Yeah.
that.
I,
So for the people, maybe you can give advice for the people who are watching
yeah.
currently right now, and from an active standpoint and from the passive standpoint, what type of advice would you give people when they're starting out and when they're looking to invest?
There's a process that I learned from one of the coaches that I hired, and it's like it's called the ODA loop model, OODA. And the reason I think we're able to take so much action is because there's an actual process to this. And you know, it's like fear, obstacles, your fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of losing money, all the fears, all the worries, all the anxieties that I think keep a lot of people from moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, it's all wrapped up. And if you can break it down and look at it logically, it allows you to make more calculated risk, take good decisions based on data, logic, and then move forward. And so for us, that's basically the O loop model. So it breaks down in O. First is know that 100% of the people like observe what's going on, or everybody that can see observes the process. People invest, people make money. I get it. They're buying real estate. Well, there's only like 75-ish percent, whatever the percentage is, lower percentage of people that can orient themselves or process what's happening. They buy it this percentage, they're making this percentage of return. I understand how it works. So more than just see it, now I can process it. And then only like 25% of the people can actually make a decision. You know what? That's a great model. I see that it's going to benefit me. I'm going to have passive cash flow, good tax return. I'm going to make more return than I would in the stock market. And, you know, it's passive for me. I'm going to do that. 25% of the people. But what happens is that you get stuck in that decision process because only 3 or 4% of the people take action. You've already made the decision. Why don't people act? Man, there's that fear, there's that barrier, there's the worry, whatever it is they're trying to overcome, most people don't act. And if you arm yourselves with education and invest in yourself, because no matter what happens to the deals, no matter what happens to the stock market, no matter what happens, you know, all this craziness that's going on today, interest rates lower, coronavirus, all this stuff, right? One thing that no one's ever going to take from you is your education. If you invest in yourself, you're never going to go the best return possible, because you can go apply that to the next deal, the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. And so you invest in yourself, and then now you're like, okay, you see the deal, you can analyze it, you realize there's a good opportunity. You can look at the data. And I tell my passive investors that invest with me now, because now we're raising capital. They've seen me do it so many times, and they, you know, I didn't ask anybody for money. People started asking me, how are you getting into all these deals? Like, what the heck what are you doing? How did you leave your W-2 job? And I tell them what I did, and now they're wanting to invest with me. But I tell them, you need to look at the market that they're investing in, look at the deal, and look at the operators, the team that's running it. And if you feel comfortable with those three main things, the market being most important, jobs are coming in, population growth coming in, that part of it, and you like the business plan, and you know, like, and trust the team, they got good track record, then you've done your due diligence as a passive investor. The hardest part is moving forward, taking action. And so it's the ODA loop model again and again and again. Every single time, observe, orient, process, you decide, you got to act. You got to go. Otherwise, it never happens.
What do you think? What will make the rest of the 22%? Because it went from 27 to 3% or 25
Yeah,
to
yeah.
whatever.
It's like, a
It
quarter,
crazy
and then you're like, well, 3%. What the heck happened?
crazy stats. But what do you think? What will help the rest of the people that didn't invest it? I mean, they were fairly committed, like half. They're like, oh, I know it's good, it's gonna work, it's gonna benefit my family, the tax return, but like they didn't pull the trigger. So what do you think? What's missing? Like, is it the education? Like for those people, most of the time, what objections like you getting from those type of people who don't invest?
So typically I never really hear the objection. I just realize there's more people don't move forward. And so
Got it.
I'm like, I never try to sell somebody on it. I'm just presenting a really good opportunity. And I'm very sincere and passionate about, man, this is the way I did it. And, I think it's the bee's knees, right? This is, I left my job. So um, really, I think it's, for the most part, it's their lack of education or knowledge in the subject. When I don't have mastery, when I lack competence, I lack confidence. And if you're competent in a subject, you're going to be way more confident.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this, crazy decision on this large amount of money. You got to practice sometimes. I think one of the things that's helped me was in 2008, I bought a house. It's a single family house. It wasn't a $15 million deal. It wasn't 200 units. It was like one house. And it was practice for me to say, oh, I got to go do this deal, sign these 100-page documents, have my wife there, and we're just like, oh man, this is all the extra money we had. Well, that was practice, and we did that deal. And and in between, that was funny enough. I used to be a big Craigslist guy. Now I look at real estate, but I bought like 10 or 12 cars off of Craigslist in about a year and a half period. But I would look at cars and I would say, oh, that's a good truck for $3,000, a little small, old 10-year-old Dakota. And I'd buy it for $3K, and I'd buy it. I'd use pictures, put it on Craigslist, and I'd put it online for $4,500. But it was like practice for me to spend $3,000, realize it was a good investment. And it was like this ODA loop model. I just practiced again and again. I didn't realize I was doing it over the years, but I could make a decision on 3 and sell something for 45, make my profit, and I'd go buy a $4,500 car, sell it for 6. I did that like 12 times until I had this really nice truck
Successful.
that I paid for itself. And then I sold this. It was I had this 72 Chevrolet K5 Blazer. If you're like a classic guy, it's one of those ones without the hard top, and it's like completely convertible truck, lifted. My friends know, they're like, dude, you sold that truck. Well, I did. It was beautiful. It's gorgeous. Inside engine, all this stuff done. I ended up selling that truck and put the money down and bought another house. So it was like, okay, it was like small practice to make a decision, overcome fear, overcome the obstacles and objections, and realize, man, if you don't make a decision for yourself, like no one's going to do this for you. Government's not going to take care of you. Your family's not going to take care of you. Like they're going to need your assistance, or my family anyways. Like I think of like, shoot, my mom and dad are, God bless them. They're like in their 65, 70, and they're still working. And I don't know if they have retirement inside. And I'm like, oh, that is a motivation for me to say, I've got to do something. I want to help them, and how do I do that? That's motivation for me to say, man, that's why I'm unhappy. I'm not with the situation. I got to go make this happen.
That's a big why to have. I mean, when we start talking about the family, and I know in the world of the part of the world that you coming from, family is a big thing, right?
Absolutely.
So like when you come back to that, it's going to drive you a long way, because business is a marathon, is not a sprint. So you need something deep inside you to drive to go long distances.
Yeah.
Well,
I have my wife. I have a couple kids. Love my beautiful wife. She supports me through all this. And then, the 2 little ones, I'm like, that's motivation. How do I figure out how to get more hours of the day with them and to make money to pay for everything we need, right? So that's a lot of motivation.
Awesome. Again, you mentioned the objections, because when I brought it up, you said you kind of people don't make an objections about, investing passively. Well,
Mhm.
let me bring up one objection, if you don't
Okay.
mind. That will
Sure.
be, again, because when you're raising capital from sophisticated kind of people, high net worth individuals, accredited investors, the few names, for them, basically people who are most of the time they're business owners, right? And like looking where we are, like in the market currently, I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes to investing or just economics, like everybody's saying like real estate is on top, like the market is going to tank, like everybody's worrying about the crisis coming up, and like people are fearful a little bit. So could that be an issue when it comes to the raising capital? Again, it's easier to find equity and the deal flow is maybe is not there, so the money is there, but do you get people coming in and say like, whoa, I don't know, like I'm not sure because there is recession coming up, so maybe I should just stack it and put it away? Like what I'm trying to say, the question
Yeah.
is, should people wait it out until the market is going to tank and invest then, or should they go and invest before that?
Well, talking. This is what is today's date? We're on.
So the 27th February
Okay. 2020. 2
2020. Yeah,
days ago, the last 2 days, the market has dropped $1.7 trillion in the last 2 days because of the coronavirus, right?
mm-hmm.
And another country, not here in the US, well, hey, it's spreading, it's going to get everywhere. I mean, the production that country puts off affects, X, Y, and Z company.
Everybody, yeah.
Market has dropped in 2 days $1.7 trillion. And so at the fear that people have is so great that they're like, sell it, pull it. I need my money out, get out of the market now before it continues to drop, which, overall plays to additional fear and additional dropping of that market. Where, man, if I'm in real estate, in the right real estate, we're not in luxury. We're not in extravagant spending. We're like in 100+ unit, working class, B and C neighborhoods. Sometimes we get a lucky and have an A product that works, but it's not a luxury A. It's just a solid A, newer building. But man, if uh, that area of the U.S. of housing, like so many cities are in a housing crisis, where the cost of building new construction is so high, it's
Mhm.
pushing the cost, median income, the median price of the house up and up and up beyond people's median incomes. They can't afford like a single family 3-bedroom 2 house anymore, and they've
Mhm.
got to like live somewhere. So I think we are in the multifamily syndication spot. We're like in a prime location, prime spot to have just a very stable, secure asset. And then we are really helping, secure housing for generations to come when you think about it. And so it's like, I know that people have fear about the market. I mean,
Yep.
man, you can't do anything about that. There's no control. You can have rumor, fear that causes this drop. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the all you can do is say, hey, in a real estate product like ours, where scalability is there, the affordability is there, you underwrite it right, you look at the comps, you look at the data, you can logically break down, if I force the appreciation up by X amount, my market rents is they're under market rents, but I know I'm going to push them up to market by doing certain amount of improvements. I know uh, my customer base, the tenants. I know the amenities that they want or can afford. I know the median income in the area. I can look at the data, look at the population, look at all the points, and say, man, logically, it should make sense. Fear doesn't really grip that part of the investment. If you put the dollar in and you've done your background, your due diligence, your investigation correctly on this deal, you're like, man, that should work. It's not very complex.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's
like
again
very
coming back to controlling the inches around you, and getting the mind straight, which involves again educating yourself about like, is it risky, non-risky, like, coming across like multifamily, there's a lot of different asset classes, construction, multifamily, Airbnb, like people buy hotels, land, and, you know, you can invest into REIT, which is like you're buying a stock, but you know, there's different vehicles, but you have to educate, like, you know, yourself. And I think multifamily, you know, it's a time proven investment. Definitely. It's not volatile. I mean, it survived 2008, depending, you know, like you're investing in a big project. So those projects, you know, most of the time they survive. Again, when we're coming back to the location and demographics, like where is it? So maybe we can talk about your investment criteria currently and projects that you're working on. Maybe you can tell people the states that you're working on. You know, what size of the deals, like the rents, and like how do you underwrite, like how do you find and how do you close? Maybe that process a little bit.
Sure. So right now we're in primarily two markets, Texas and New Mexico. I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas. It's, you know, 2 hours south of San Antonio, so it's a short drive away. I was there my first half of my life. I'm 40. I was there at, you know, age 18, graduated from high school there. So I know the market very well. And then I went to moved to San Antonio, Texas. So I've been here the back half of my life, know the market pretty well. So like I typically, at least to this point, you know, my threshold for fear or worry or anxiety in a real estate investment has been only invest in what you know, because it reduces that fear or risk for me, right? So I'm like, man, 800 of those doors are in San Antonio, Texas. 800
is a great market.
Single family we have 9 single family houses today. I'm trying to sell them slowly off at the right time. Yep. And then 800 of the doors are multifamily. So we have, you know, 128 unit apartment complex. It's a C property in a B neighborhood. We have a 282 unit deal. That's pretty much like a B in a B neighborhood. We have a 268 unit deal. That's an it's a mix. It's 1980s B with a developer that developed a brand new 100 and whatever unit. So it's a mixed match of old 80 and then 100 new. So 268 total of A. So we call it an A. It's pretty much there. And then investing in 128 units. That's kind of the 124 in a secondary market or a sub-market to San Antonio. It's called Seguin. And it's also a C property and probably a C or B neighborhood. So we like that because there's a value add component in a C or a B property. We know that if we look at the comps, so you said, what are some of the things that you look for? There's a criteria, right? Is can I buy this at a price per door that's low enough so where my investors that come in can make about 2 times their money in about a 5 to 6 year period. So that's kind of like the most important basic thing, right? Is can we afford to raise capital for it and pay our investors 2x their money? So if we know we can do that, okay, great. This price per door works. Now, what's our model to increase that, appreciate the value or force the appreciation up? So we start to look at the comps in the area, in the neighborhood. What are they renting for? What are the amenities they have? What is the age of the property? You know, who's the property manager and how are they doing? Is the expenses high, or, you know, where are we at? And then we just put together a solid business plan that says, yeah, we can raise the rents or reduce expenses or a little bit of both in X period of year. What's a cap rate? Cap rate in our area is like 6.5, maybe a little bit more compressed for an A property or downtown San Antonio property, but it's pretty predictable. And then in San Antonio, Texas, very predictable. In Corpus Christi, where I'm from, it's, you know, there's a lot of predictability in job employment. San Antonio, the same job employment. If you have a predictable source of job, source of employment, then you've got a predictable population growth. And then if your supply in housing is low, but population keeps increasing, then, man, when your supply goes down and demand goes up, the prices are going to follow. So that's what you're looking for, or that's what I know is in my backyard. So I kind of got lucky. That's where I live here. Texas is a great market, right? And then we're at and then we're in New Mexico. We're doing a deal, the ground up, the development. The reason we're doing a deal there is because population growth increases, the demand for the product is high. They have very little multifamily buildings in the area, multifamily apartment complexes. So we know there's a shortage of housing. So it's like a perfect market for us to say, yeah, let's break ground. Got a good piece of property at a low price. The market needs it. It'll get, the property should get, filled up very quickly. So we're like, okay, those are the markets. That's how we're looking at it. And, hopefully does that help a little bit?
Yeah, of course, because I just want the audience to understand like the markets that you're, investing in, and what will be on average the like rent wise, like how much is the rent? Like, let's say on a last deal that you acquired, like on average, how much do you charge for rent?
Yeah, these are like
And I'll tell
anywhere
you
from
why I ask
like
you that question.
$800, one bedroom units to
Okay.
$1,100 two bedroom units. Even the new build or new construction we're doing is not a luxury, but it's it's a new product that we're trying to make it feel like a luxury, but we're still underwrote it at like, I think $1, $10, $20 square foot. It's like pretty affordable when you look at the overall marketplace.
Yeah.
And you kind of bounce those numbers off of like median income in the neighborhood or in the area. If my median income is $50,000, well, people have a certain percentage allocated to their housing. Is there enough discretionary spend above and beyond that they can actually afford this, still have a nice car, still have a nice way of living, and then the in the neighborhood, what's around there, and you're like, okay, you put together a pretty decent plan, and trying to figure out how we win.
Yeah, and what will be the ideal unit mix when you're looking for the property? What type of units are you looking for?
I think the market is really going to depend. The market drives that for the most part. So a lot of these questions, all great questions. All these questions are like the questions that I turn around and ask our property manager. Hey,
Yeah.
what's the unit mix that's going to work best here? What do you think we can charge for this? What amenities do you think we can need? So here's a paradigm shift, I think, for passive investors, right? I want to know enough information that I feel comfortable moving forward. As a passive investor, before I give my hard-earned money, that's what I want to know. As an active participant or general partner or somebody in the deal that's evaluating, doing the analysis, underwriting, the Excels, everything, right? So I am not an expert in what this little sub-market is and how many rents are there. I can look at CoStar reports and I can look at the data and I can try to make, extrapolate the best decision, but I know the experts in that area. The property manager that I'm interviewing and hiring, I want to know that they know way better than I do. This is what they do for a living. They're an expert. They're a pro. You tell me, man, I'm evaluating hiring you and paying you a percentage of this deal. So, I mean, you tell me what's going to work in this, what unit mix, what, price per square foot, what amenities, what do I need to do flooring? Do I need to do new fixtures? Can it support granite countertops? I mean, what is it that I need to do and what's that going to do for my rents? So as an active partner, now I've got another paradigm switch that says, I don't need to know it all. I just need to make sure I have the right experts and pros on my team.
Exactly.
Because there's so many things to know. Like, I'm not going to know this stuff all. I have 2 years of education. Great. Versus somebody who's been doing this for 30 years in the space. Man, I want you on my team. How can you help me? And that's what I think is enabled me to.
Definitely agree. And the simple reason why I'm asking for, first of all, is the price and the unit mix is just because, I'm just curious to find out. Because again, most of the time, like when you're looking from a passive, and that's very like looking from a passive standpoint as well, because what's going to happen when markets is going to shift, because there's a lot of like high net worth, like not high net worth people who are earning a lot of money. And there's like medical industries is a big part of Texas as well. There's a lot of hospitals, like cancer research, like Texas is that. So so oil, I don't know how is it going on with oil currently, but you know, all these people that renting now for 2.5, 3,000 per month, in a downturn, they're gonna start moving towards one like 1,500, maybe 1,000. They're gonna start saving a bunch of money. So that's why, from like passive like standpoint, maybe if you're investing in an A-class brand new apartment that charge like 3 or 3.5K per month, maybe that's not the deals that you want to be, because the occupancy is gonna drop once, you know, the downturn. Like, nobody has the crystal ball. Nobody knows when it's gonna happen. But like, if you're investing for, you know, as the exit strategy you mentioned, like 4 years to 3 years, like maybe that's going to be the case. So, you know, there's a lot of variables. That's what I'm saying. Like, for people like even myself who would look like from a passive standpoint, I will think like, is it the A class? Like, how much is the rents? Like, how big is the units? Because if it's like only one bedroom, who's going to be living in the one bedroom? Is one guy, maybe a student, like, you know, and so.
And what market are you in?
Yep.
And are you near a hospital there with a lot of, you know, bunch of interns, and near a, you know, I don't know, one of our deals is hospital area near, you know, this area that has a high demand for 1-bedroom units. They're like, okay, that's an area high demand. And then there's another one that's like, hey, 2 or 3 bedrooms. So you're like, okay, do you have enough of both? And that property mix. So everything you're saying is on point. Like, you know, if I was,
I don't think I'm
in
right.
a luxury $3,000 apartment complex, and there's market downturn, I'm going to try to cut some expenses somewhere. So if I can go find another apartment for $2,000, you know, and still live my luxury stuff, I'm worried about my $3,000 rents. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's not going to be everybody, but some part definitely going to move out. You know, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Like, the world is going to end. People are scared more about, you know, coronavirus than the upcoming crisis, I think. So, you know, can you talk about, you know, from passive standpoint, I would love to hear some benefits. So maybe you can explain to people who are brand new watching, you know, and just looking to invest from a passive standpoint. Maybe you can tell a few benefits or more, like, of why you should go and invest from passive rather than active, or versus stocks. And, you know, just explain that, please.
Yeah. Well, my full circle goal in being an active partner today is still so I can be a passive limited partner at the end. So I think I can, you know, I think I can share a few things. So passive investor, I mean, you're a K1 business owner, and you're a part owner in the deal. So what that means is you have benefits of all of the losses in a like the tax benefits, or the benefits of having depreciation of the building work for your favor. One of the great things about multifamily 100+ units is that when you do what's called a cost segregation study, it's, you know, expert engineer that goes, looks at the building, and there's depreciation. Even your single family house, your CPA, all the CPAs are probably do 27.5 years of depreciation. I think that's the number. And then they take 1/27th of that depreciation every year you own it. Well, in a multifamily commercial building, you know, they give the government they give an incentive for business owners like us to own these buildings, because we're providing a good quality housing product to the market, which is in need. So they let us take accelerated depreciation. And even this year, I think until 2022 or 23, I forget which year, but they even give you bonus depreciation. And so what that means is, if you're depreciating this building over 27.5 years, instead of only taking 1/27th, like in single family, and having that deduction, they let you take a bigger chunk of that depreciation. At 27.5 years, maybe they'll let you do, you know, I don't know the exact numbers. You got to talk to an expert. I'm not a CPA guy, right? But like 27% year 1, 27% year 2, 27% year 3, and then bonus depreciation in the first year. So if somebody is a high W-2 earner, they're making a good grip of cash at their W-2 job. You know, if I invested $50K in a deal with the right deal, you may have, you know, 10, 15K of tax deduction year 1, 10, 15K of tax deduction year 2, 10, 15K of, you know, tax deduction year 3, and so on. And it's like, man, that was money we weren't expecting. So I think that's one of the biggest, that's how I found multifamily first, was my CPA goes, dude, you need to buy more real estate. You're paying $50K in taxes every year. And I go, I am. I got like 5, 6 houses. What do you want me to do? And my buddy was the one that ended up telling me, oh, you know what? In multifamily, we do cost segregation studies. and accelerate the depreciation. So that's one of the biggest, areas that when I looked at my taxes, I was like, oh, that's how the wealthy do it.
Yeah.
Really wealthy real estate owner. Look at that our leader Trump, right? Love him or hate him, whatever. When they say, well, how do you pay no taxes? Well, shoot, I know how he pays no taxes. It's like it's
people
simple.
hate him because they don't know. That's
Yeah.
all.
Like, yeah, man, you make a lot of money in 1 year. If you go build something else in the second year, you got a lot of loss, and that loss takes over your profit. And it's like, oh, I didn't pay any taxes. So, oversimplified, right? I'm a pretty layman type of guy, but that's a big benefit. Another benefit is, man, being passive. You can hang with your I had a full-time W-2 job, very demanding. I was a senior director for partnerships, senior director for sales. I had my largest team in the IT world was like 60 salespeople, 5 or 6 managers under me, lot of stuff going on. But if you're invested passively, you can hold down your W-2 job and invest passively in that. So it's like, well, I can make my good money at my profession, maybe something you've taken 10 years already. You already have your 1,000 hours of expertise here, but invest it passively with somebody else with their 1,000 hours of expertise. And you're leveraging their, like other people's time, you're leveraging their expertise and their knowledge, and you're using your money, but leveraging them. And then I was like, okay, well, that's going to earn. And then also, if you have any dream of being an active partner later, then people want to invest with somebody with a track record. The brokers want to know that you have a track record. Everybody that works with you want to know you have a track record. And that's one of the best ways to get a track record is, borrow someone else's. I borrowed my partners and mentors, up until now. It's like, hey, man. So all of those things are just some of the benefits.
Some, yeah. Not to mention a lot more. I mean, there is definitely
return in the stock market.
Yeah.
My IRA never doubled, without me feeding it. Neither did my 401k. I'm like, dude. So there's so many reasons, right?
It is an answer. It is an answer to a lot of, questions that people ask when it comes to the money. Definitely real estate, particularly multifamily, is an answer. So, you can go and explore these type of things. Of course, I'm going to include some stuff to you, directed to you and to your company before we're going to wrap up a little bit later. So they can go in contact with you and maybe you can explain more into detail. But maybe before that, you can tell people again, if there's any risks, associated with investing, passively as well.
Absolutely. Man, any investment that you put your money into, the reason there's a potential for reward is because there's risk, right? So, every investment, if someone tells you otherwise, it's not the truth, right? So I think that's the risk is like, well, the syndicator, the operator, the teams running it, the property managers, the market itself, population growth, job. Is it a one employer town, or is there various sources of employment? Is there more housing being built? Is the demand not, is not driving the supply? If there's oversupplied houses, that's what I'm kind of like. Too much supply, not enough demand, it's going to hurt. And then, all those things are like, those are real risk, right? Can the team pull off what they said they're going to do? They got a plan for their $1 million that they raised. We need $2 million for the down payment, an extra $1 million to improve the building, improve the property, make sure the units are each individually taken care of so you can improve the rents. All of those things are real risk, I think, to passive investing. Legal documents, the private placement memorandum. Did my attorney do it the right way? All of those things. And I think those are all factors in every single deal we look at. But when you look at them, logically, individually on their own thing, that's what you're really trying to weigh out. Your job as a passive investor, your due diligence is look at the market. You can look at citydata.com. You can talk to a property manager or co-star. Normally, if you tell them, hey, I'm thinking about investing in property, you may be able to get some data. You can call the city's Economic Development Committee or Corporation, EDC. If the city doesn't have one of those, it may be a good reason, a good telltale sign, and maybe I shouldn't invest here. But all those data sources will tell you if your worries or fears or risk are real or not. And an economic development corporation tells you, hey man, there's X amount of jobs coming in, more population growth. We're expecting and forecasting to go up. We've got a city plan that shows here's where the growth is. And the EDCs of each city that you're investing in, they'll have that information and they already do all the work for you. And you know it's unbiased, factual, real data.
Numbers
so
apply.
They do the same, right?
Yep.
They're like, okay, cool. It eliminates my fear or worry. Well, what about the building? Do I believe in the plan? Well, ask your operator they should have pulled their CoStar reports, or the property manager should pull their CoStar reports. It may not be part of the investment summary or the investment package. They may show you one slide on the comps, but I mean, ask your operators, can you show me the CoStar report so you can look at the data yourself, right? And see what are the comps in the area? How much are they charging? What's my business plan going up on this one? So it eliminates your fear and worries about the building. If you're local to the market, man, go ask your operator if you can go walk the property with them. If you're not local to the market, do you know anybody in the city? You know, there's a lot of things you could do there. And then lastly is like, what's the track record, you know, of the people running the deal? You know, if you feel comfortable, confident, you know them, you trust them, you've seen their, you know, their operations to date. You know, I was new at one point. I had no track record. So when people ask me, what about you? Have you done a deal yourself? Well, the truth was no, I hadn't. But I was borrowing, or I was using someone else's track record for the resume thing. But really, it was like, no, he's doing the work. He's the guy that's got a bunch of doors. And I would not recommend a new operator trying to go buy this building on their own without having any experience. The deal's so big, the pie is big enough. Give somebody a piece of your pie, an expert, and have them help you so you can learn along with them. And so as a passive investor, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. Those are my risks. And do I at least have the data to overcome that risk and say, yeah, I'm going to move forward. It's a good deal.
Exactly. Because, you know, I think Warren Buffett said, you know, that risk is coming from like what you don't know. Like when you don't know what you're doing, that's where the risk comes from. Correct. So that's, again, coming back to, you know, educating yourself and just getting the right information. Because, I mean, as I mentioned, numbers don't lie, but sometimes they do. Like, because when it's coming back to the pro formas, like, you know, are you looking at the pro forma? Are you looking to, because, you know, like, which way does the company underwrite? Are they very, like, is it the worst case scenario? Are they expecting the best things is going to happen? You know, so you have to do a lot of vetting and, you know, due diligence your own personally before you pull this 50K or whatever, take the money from your, you know, IRA and direct some money, you know, towards some people that you maybe, you know, met a few times. So, you know, these things happen, but you just have to pay attention yourself and just do your own due diligence. Because again, if you're a business owner, I mean, you should be smart enough to do this type of things. So coming back to, you know, personal education, because you mentioned, you know, books, mentorships, all of that was a big part of your business, helping you to scale the business until, you know, this level currently and still growing, still going. So maybe you can explain to people the importance of having, you know, a mentor in the business when they're starting out, because, you know, everybody's just listening like you're talking passive investing only. So this is for you guys, mentorships. Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the highest level, if you are not planning on running your deal today and you're not going to go do it, so much information on these podcasts, the time, effort, energy that you're taking to go put this information out there, it's free. So take the time, go look at the highest, you know, reviewed podcast for multifamily. You know, there's a bunch of them. Take some time and learn. You know, it's free. You know, so that's one of the best areas. We're at an amazing point in time. 10, 15 years ago, you know, you're not going to find any podcast on this subject, and you would have to pay the money. So take advantage of what's free. And then secondly, you know, you want to do some due diligence the same way on the mentors or coaches or education programs before you just jump in and spend, you know, some of these packages, like the first one I paid was 20 grand. The next one was like 15 grand. Next one's 15 grand, 6 grand, whatever. So the first one that I bought was because my sister drugged me along, and I'm like, yeah, I was ready. It was
Trust
like
it.
it was like 90% single family, and I go, oh, I didn't I didn't realize until I'm after the program, right? So, anyways, that was fun. So I would say due diligence on the education. What do they do? How do they do it? What's their expertise?
Yeah.
Are the people coaching actually doing deals? One of the valuable spots that I like with my current team is like they are mentors and coaches, but they will also get active in the deal, and you can use the team, the network, as key principals, as capital raiser, as somebody who has a little bit of boots on the ground in that area. Whatever deficiency, whatever expertise you lack, you can go partner with somebody. And this is not just mentoring or coaching program. This is just anywhere, multifamily syndication, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a mentor that says, hey man, I'll help you do the deal and I'll go along with you, I think that goes a long way. I would say that's probably, don't be afraid to spend money for a good mentor after you've done due diligence.
Yeah. but yeah.
Yeah, after this is the right person, individual, team, coach, program, education, and I'll break that down in a minute. But once it's like, man, don't be afraid to spend the money. It took me 10 years to get 8 doors. It took me 2 to go from 8 to 800 and developing 150 from the ground up. And the reason that 2 years happened so quickly was because of education, mentor, coaching, before I tried to do it on my own.
That's
and
big.
thought it'd be the best way.
Big,
and compared to the circle of people that I knew at my day job, I did know how to do it. I was the only one who was doing that, in my area, or, in my close circle of friends. No one else had 8 houses.
And it felt so good. You was like, oh, I'm a Donald Trump.
You're the man. I was like, yeah, I am the man, right? And then I realized, oh shoot, there's way more that I have no idea how.
Yeah.
And this is how they're doing. And then with education, it lights up. So I've done conferences for the weekend. In 2 years, I've probably traveled to at least 15 cities, a lot of plane trips, a lot of hotels.
Yeah.
I've done video courses. I've done coursework. I have read books. I've done, a lot of the hands-on. I've bought people's, video walkthrough on Excel on how to do underwriting. You kind of do that. I've read the lifetime cash flow, real estate investing. I've listened to the podcast. You can log all this stuff and say, hey man, easily 240 hours, not including podcasts. I don't even know how to track podcasts, but individual mentor coaches that I pay, that I meet with 2 individuals one individual that's my personal coach. He helps me weekly, every Thursday, 3:00.
You want to drop these names?
Yeah, Marcus Ogden. He's amazing. He's a former NFL football player. He wrote this book called The Success Cycle. It's a really good one. So he's my personal coach. I work with apartment educators with Devin Elder. He's kind of the main syndicator, an expert in my area in San Antonio. We knew each other from Rackspace, where we used to work in the IT sales job. So he's helping me do that now. He launched an education program after all the years of having success, and people like me asking him, because he was the guy I asked, can you help me? And he said, well, if you invest, you can be an owner. Now he has an education program. So I took his education program and courses. And actually now I'm a coach with him at Apartment Educator. So I coach now, and it's like being a math tutor. I know how to do calculus a lot better now because I'm coaching people through the process. So I soak it up, as I'm coaching. And then I did Elite Legacy, which is kind of the single family kind of side. I went to Dallas, a Dallas group. I've been to Rod Cleef's event. I've been a couple times. I've been REI Black Book, which is a software that I use. They actually asked me to be a keynote speaker for them in March. So I'm going to speak on their stage and kind of do that. And I joined a mastermind, Kingdom Capitalist Mastermind.
Is that Hammond?
Ellis Hammond.
Yeah,
exactly.
I got him on the show previously before. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Christian real estate
yeah, yeah,
syndication.
yeah.
So, it's like I I have paid a lot of money, but man, what I paid, I probably paid double the amount, triple, now knowing that it's going to help me, propel me through the future. And now, we got a few deals cooking that are not, they're not launched today, but in 2 or 3 months, I'm like, well, it's going to be a nice, portfolio, additional portfolio that we're adding to our track record. So it'll be fun.
That is very good. I love that. And people can sense that you're kind of obsessed like with self-education. And
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean obsessed in a good way, because you cannot get more obsessed in a bad way when it comes to self-development. The more, the better. But again, you didn't miss the step, as I mentioned before, of taking action, because
Mhm.
that's the step that most people miss. So it's even, it doesn't matter from what point, active point, passive point, because again, from 27%, there's only 3% of people that invest passively. So that means these
Yep.
people got enough education, but they didn't pull the trigger. So you're one of those people. And, from an active standpoint, I think it's even, the number is lesser. There's probably only
Yeah,
half
yeah,
a
yeah.
percent of people
Yeah,
that
I would probably agree with you. Yep.
so you're in the big leagues, like having all these units under management. This
Yeah.
no,
Thank
really,
you.
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, don't put too much air in my head. I need to stay humble and yes, but
Got
thank
it,
you
got
for
it, got it, got it. Okay, okay. No worries, no worries.
I
So
appreciate it though, man.
maybe again coming back to self-education, you read all these books, and again, people listening, like mentorship, man, it's a good thing to have, but like I'm gonna go Google and all I see all these 6-figure, 5-figure, like I don't have the capital reserves for now, maybe to spend this type of money. Maybe I'm just, kind of
Yeah.
looking soft entry point podcast, some free stuff, but maybe I can scrape a few bucks to go and grab me some few books from Amazon. So what will be a top 3 business or personal development books for people to go and read?
So before I give you the list of books, that's why I start with podcasts are free, man. So just you don't need $50,000, $60,000. There's so much podcast information. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. Right
unlimited.
from the books, there's a few that have, for my career, not just investing in multifamily,
Yeah,
commercial syndication, all that stuff. I would say some of the changers in my life, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People
sure.
is at the core of like who I am in the professional world since I was like, I first read it when I was 20, right? Or 19. It's just, you know, you, Dale Carnegie is an amazing leader, and not just tactics, but at the core, like you have to have a desire to help other people and a sincere desire. And then he gives you tactics around doing so. And your leadership, management, business partnerships, operation, anything having to do with people, which is everything,
Yeah.
is just a really good one. I really love 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Yep.
Man, just at the core, that's like that's a big one. For your paradigm has to be right. If your
Yeah.
paradigm's right, it's so much easier to move forward, take action, and those types of things. I read the Bible a lot, so or try to as much as possible. And all this, self development, self improvement. I read a ton of it. I've read a ton of it for years, but all good wisdom comes from the Bible already. So it's
Yeah.
like, man, if you bless some proverbs or some
I had
psalms.
my business partners told me before, they're like, man, you should read Bible. There's a lot of good business lessons are in
Oh,
that
yeah.
book, man. So I was like,
If you
and
Google like
yeah,
Bible lesson on money, Bible lesson on saving, Bible lesson on, but what does the Bible say about investment, dude? You're gonna see like some really good knowledge.
yeah,
So
yeah,
whether you're you believe, you can get a lot of great knowledge, and obviously I'm a believer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you're a non-believer.
No, I am a believer. I'm I'm
Okay.
a I'm a
Yeah, yeah.
Christian. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
because I thought, why would you read the book? But I just want to
yeah.
mention, like, that's one of the topics that people don't like to discuss. Like for me, it's like I don't mind talking money, religion, sex, finance. Like,
How are you gonna know? How
maybe
do you know, man?
like it's not the place maybe to talk about some of the stuff here on this podcast, but like religion is just one does good lesson, and my wife is not from far from here, so she heard this 100 times. But basically, the lesson the guy gave me, he was like, look, if there's two people, one is a believer and the second one is non-believer. So he said, and there is a goal in front of them. So he said, both of these people are going to reach the goal, but the believer will do it faster. So that's what it does, man. The power of belief, like if you believe in something, it doesn't have to be the God, the Jesus, like Allah. Like, I don't know what you believe, like not you, but the people who are watching.
Yeah.
But you have to believe in yourself, man. Just go out there and make some good decisions, educate yourself. So coming back to the goals, reaching goals
Funny
faster.
I'm sorry, Idra. I was like, funny that you said a lot of the ability to move forward is the faith that no matter what, succeed, fail, not, like my identity's already, stronghold. I'm a Christian regardless, and nothing's going to take that away from me. So lose my job if I don't do as well as, it's like, it's all secondary, to me anyways. And that faith, like you're saying, the believer or somebody that has faith and hope, man, they're going to like keep moving forward because it's like, oh, I had a slip and a fall. Just keep moving forward. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Those are people, most of the time I notice those people are very strong because they have the willpower, as you know, in a human being, when he's driven, when he has a big enough purpose, like yourself, like your family's backing you. I mean, there's nothing in front of them. They just go and they're insane. So I love these type of people, So coming back to your personal goals, going fast, maybe you can share some of those, personal business goals for this year. Because I mean, we just started this year, so maybe you can share a few.
Yeah, I have 3 big ones that I'm driving for, and I have to have a lion's share portion of a deal, because you can go as a small partner on a big deal, which is great, but I want to try to have the one lion's share deal where I'm kind of the primary individual running the deal here in San Antonio. I have a second, so we're wrapping up closing, if you want to call it, I guess we're in the final steps of closing our first new development, and then breaking ground and all that stuff will be, in the next month or so. Mm-hmm. Following that, we want to have a second new development piece of land under contract where we have all the plans for, everything approval for the city on the second deal for the year. So probably another 150 units in New Mexico. So that's the second big goal. And then the third big goal, I have also have a successful single family like business on the single family side. I told you I spent 20 grand on the education for single family without knowing it was single family. So like I have that education and I'm putting it to work. I have a few employees on that side, and we do about 2 to 3 single family transactions a month. So I'm trying to gross about 180K for the year on that piece also.
That's very good. That's very good. So want to leave that on as well at the moment. Yeah, I mean, timing is good, for that. I mean, the money's there and you're in a position to able to do that. So, but the biggest focus, like for the future, what is it going to be? You're going to buy more kind of a B-class multifamily properties. You're going to do construction, or you're going to go single family. Which direction you think you're going to follow? Or are you just going to be diversified a little bit in all of these different assets?
The only reason we're doing single family is because I have some employees that are able to pick it up and do it on their own. So I have very little like mindset or thought or process. Like they're running it, and I give them a good portion of the profits. Like you go run it. So it's a passive model for me. And then I'm helping some really solid team members build up the ability to invest. They want to do deals in multifamily too. They just don't have 50K to invest. So I'm like, man, this is a great way to go build your active capital. Yep. And then as time goes by, you'll have the knowledge, and then you can convert it. So that's the only reason we're doing single family. It's not really a focus for me. It's just one of the goals that I want to help them get there. For me, it's 100 plus unit B or C apartment complexes that we can syndicate, raise capital, trying to double investors' money in that 5-year period. And then one new development deal, which would be the second, breaking ground on the second new development deal. So that's kind of, that's the biggest focus areas. San Antonio, Texas, maybe Corpus Christi, Texas, like Texas, because I'm here. and then New Mexico, because I have a solid team there. They've
Yeah.
been in the market for years. They know it. You know, my partner Emil and Damien, they're just ones that built. They're both certified builders, that kind of thing. And then you know, I'm helping them kind of, you know, push the ball forward, helping them do it, raise the capital, put the deals together too on this side, and great team over there as well. So
Awesome, man. I love Dallas. I've never been to Dallas, never been to States except the flag that I have hanging here. But, you know, like when people ask me what the flag is for, I tell them, you know, it represents me the freedom and opportunity. And that's what the States has, you know, like, and like Texas, great country. I just want to come in there maybe for the ribs, just get me some ribs or something. You know, it's a great market, again, to be
Texas
investing
flag
in
up there.
actively, passively. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that is awesome. That is beautiful.
Texas.
That is beautiful. So yeah, so you know, definitely great market. So again, you're established in the space, doing super well. Again, having, you know, 400. So where is it? 402 and 465. So 467 units currently with the partners. So and
Oh yeah.
156 doors on ground up. So doing phenomenal well. So again, you know, for the future deals, again, before we wrap up, maybe you can tell people social media platforms, the ones that people can get, you know, engage with you and ask you a bunch of questions, what those would be.
Go to probably my website, easiest way. Fill out you know, your name, phone number, just a little bit of information. You
Yep.
can put your goals on my company is 5 Talents Wealth, but go to 5tcre.com, 5tcre.com
Link is down below.
invest.
Yep.
/invest. You'll see the landing page. You can put a little bit of your goals. I have a great assistant. She'll help us schedule some time. We can talk,
Awesome.
just discuss your goals and whether you want to be a partner, an investor, a limited partner, or active. You know, you put your goals there. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can always email me, Abel, ABEL, at 5tcre.com.
Yeah, awesome. Of course, as always, guys, so you can find, I mean, you're smart people, so you know there's already a bunch of links hiding in the description. So you can go and find all of these and click one of them and get in contact with Abel. You know, really appreciate the time, man. It's just the knowledge, the enthusiasm, the drive that you have in yourself is insane. I love that. You know, you have a big why, as you mentioned, to do these things and accomplish these things. And I'm sure this year, what you mentioned with the goals, I'm sure you're going to hit them on time and go beyond that. So I'm pretty sure with the knowledge and everything that you have in yourself with the personal development, man, it's crazy. I love it. Big fan. So again,
Thank
guys, as always, get in contact with Abel about the passive active investing. Just ask a bunch of questions, you know, for him. And if you enjoyed the show, as always, click the like, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to see you on the next episode. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Great talking to you.